Hello everyone. So in this video I'll be walking you guys through on the next step of creating this Supabase React CRUD app. So which is to actually make use of post request. So post request is basically it's basically like creating a new data that's coming from our React project here. So by making a post request to this particular Supabase database here, and what we're gonna do here, as you can see inside our Supabase database, what we're gonna do here, it is basically by creating a new row. By the way, like let's say if I like to create a new row of data inside this users table just by making a post request from this local React project. So that's the basic idea of this particular part of the video is all about. So in order to make a post request, I need to be having an input. I mean a form with inputs here, and that input will be it's basically the name will be asking me to input the name and also input the age. Okay, so that will be the two things that we need to add, and we also need to have a button that will be able to like trigger the request, the post request. So let's say if I already have these two particular form to be filled with information like, for example, name and age, and when I click on that button, and then only the post request should start and make a post request directly into this database, and then it should be creating a new row of data. So that's what you're going to do right now. So first of all, let's create a form with inputs. Let's go to our return here. So inside return, we're going to have this is table which we have just created. So so on top of the table, we're going to make some space like this, and I'll be making a I'm going to make a form tag. Should be uncapitalized form tag like this, and inside the form tag I'll be having inputs. So I'm just going to say input like this, and in this input I'll be having of course I need to have a self-closing this input will be a self-closing tag, and of course inputs will be having type. So there are many types of input, but in this case I'm just going to go with text input. So the first input, which is the name, is going to be a text input, and followed by placeholder just to let people know what should they be filling in. And this placeholder will be having name, or you can just say full name, something else. Okay, so these two are really the most important one. And the next thing is that we need dynamically, we need to uniquely identify what input field does this should take, and this will be helpful when we are actually making an object for users, and that object for users will be having user and their age. We'll be doing that next, but right now we need to have a way to uniquely identify this input. So in that way I'm gonna make it like name. Okay, so this I'm gonna name this particular input called it's gonna say name, or you can say full name. Okay, so I want to call this input full name, and that's it. So that's the first step here. And of course there will be like an on change function, on change props. By the way, this props will be having handle change function, which will be creating it manually right now after this. Okay, so what I would like to do is that I would like to have these two input fields to be receiving inputs in the form of text or numbers, and I would like it to be stored inside user data as a user's data. So let's say let's say I want to create an object called user, and that user dot name should be having the name. The user's name should be stored as user dot name, and that user's age to be stored as user dot age. So, and that's where an object really comes in handy. So in order to create an object, and we'll be using state as well. So I'll have to go on top here. So I'll be having this. As you can see, this is meant for users, but what I'm going to do here, I'll be having the next set state function, which will be only meant for a single user at a time. So that's why I'll be using user, not users. And of course, it's going to be set user function, use state. Function, and I'll be calling use state as well. Okay. So since I would like to create an object called user, I'll be making an initial empty object. Just by having this curly braces, you are able to initialize as an empty object for this particular variable called user. So, and also not just empty, I would like to have an element for this particular user, and that element will be user dot name, and the name is actually empty, and also they'll be having age, which is also empty. Okay, so I'll be having an array, an object called user, and then that user will be having name. Initially they'll be having empty name and empty age. So that's the basic idea of this use state function for user. So what I'll be doing here next is that, okay, so before that, let me just make sure that I have used the same name. For example, this age should be exactly the same as this name here, because there might be a reason why they will be using it to be having the same name like this. So in this case, we're going to have this name here, and the next thing is that we're going to have this handle change function to be made for. Let's make a function called handle change. Okay, something like this, and this will be will be receiving an event as an parameter. And let's open the the curly braces. And of course, handle change is basically like we're gonna store whatever changes that we made into this particular input. As you can see here, the input will be created here. So this input will be whatever you place it inside here. Every single time you make change to this particular input, it should be stored into this particular object dot name or object dot age. So that's what I'll be doing here. So I'll have to do that every single time when we make change to this particular input. So that'll be the best way to actually keep track of your data, user data that you are actually inputting. And next thing is that this is the handle change here. Handle change should be having set state. Set user, and that set user will be having a function, the function that where we are able to run in order to save the latest update, the latest input here. So what you're gonna do here, we're gonna have pref. We're gonna have a function with object for pref form data. Okay, this is just to make as an object that will be which will be calling it just to as a parameter for this particular function. And this function will be an arrow function, and this particular arrow function will be having curly braces like this, and we're gonna return. Okay, we're gonna return another curly braces like this. And what you're gonna do is that we're gonna call whatever data that's there in the previous form data. We're just gonna we're gonna spread all the data that are already there, followed by we're gonna only make a change to the data that had been changed, and that's what we're gonna do here. So how we're gonna do here, we're gonna say event, or we can say in this case is E. Basically E stands for event. So I'm just gonna make it just gonna make these two to be the same. So event like this, and I'm just gonna change it to event, and I'll say event dot target dot name. Basically what I'm doing here, I'm just making it to be like when I say event dot target dot name is actually I'm taking whatever that's coming from here. I'm uniquely identifying this particular input. So this particular input's unique name is basically name itself, because it's basically username. Okay, so as you can see here, let's make this into a square bracket like this, and this square bracket will be basically going to equate to event dot target and basically we are equating it to the value. Okay, basically we are equating this to event.target.value. This value is basically coming from this particular inputs value. So value will be like this, by the way. Okay, so yeah, that's what it's gonna do. That's what we're gonna place it like this. So value will be whatever the inputs that the user fills with this form here. Let's click save. As you can see here, I mean, yeah, of course we need to see for a change, so that's why we use console.log. In this case, I like to say user, by the way, because we're actually making change to this set user. So set user will be affecting user variable. So that's the thing that I like to see inside console log here. I like to click save, and I like to go to inspect, and I like to see what has been made, what changes has been made. So as you can see, I like to, yeah, as you can see, you need to have a key prop here. Let me just solve this quickly. Okay, so yeah, usually there'll be a this is for the body, this is for the table repeating group. So I'm just going to say key is equals to user.id. Just basically I like to copy this and paste it right here. I have to click save and refresh it. So as you can see here, I was able to output name and age, and as you can see, the reason why is because this particular name, I mean this user initially will be having an empty name and empty age. So that's what it's all about. Let's say if I were to edit this name input here, so let's say if I put my name like this, so as you can see, every single time I make change, that the console actually runs. So this console is actually really responsive to whatever change that I make. Okay, so that's the basic idea of how are we able to keep track of form, the forms, basically the data that's being input inside the form. So the next thing is we're gonna do the same thing for age. So that's what we're gonna do here. So I'll be opening this a bit like this, and all I need to do, just need to copy whatever I did for input, the first input, copy, and I'm going to paste it right here, and I'll be changing the placeholder to age, and I have to change the name of this particular input called age. Okay, so as you can see here, you'll be having age here as well. So this is the basic idea of how are we able to okay, yeah, before that, let me just do the same thing. Let's check, are we able to receive both the this particular, yeah, when you make change to this particular form, which is name and age, we should be having the console that we have just did here to be showing that user, I mean the name that's been input and the age that has been input. And of course age is actually a number, by the way. So usually we usually make this form which receives input in the form of number. We make the type equals to number. That's the thing about the numbers form. So let's click save, and no, not this, but this, and yeah, as you can see here, you have just had this thing. So let's see if I click on this, by the way, and there you go, you have numbers. And let's say if I had my name here, and there you go, this is my name, and the age is 1. Okay, so this is the basic idea of how are we able to make change to this particular form, React forms here. So that's the first step here. All you have to do, just need to have a simple React form, which I have already covered in our previous reactjs full course videos. So you can check that out for more more info on how to make React forms more better. So the next thing is that I need to having a button here. Let's create a button. So right below this input that we have created, I'm gonna say button, and that button will be having type. Okay, that type is gonna be submit, and I have to make this a closing tag like this, and I'll like to say add, or you can just say submit, or any you can make anything like this. For example, add, or you can just also say create, because we are actually creating a user, by the way. And let's click save, and there you go. We just created a simple button that actually the reason why I made this submit, the type is submit, because there's a reason behind it. The next thing is we're gonna have a on submit button like this, on submit props. So this particular on submit is like it will trigger this whole form. So whatever input you have, it will be captured, and it will be whatever, it will be triggered whenever when you click on this particular submit button, which is button here, create button. This particular on submit will be occurring, because that's what this all is about. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have another function to trigger this particular we're gonna trigger the post request, right? So post request is when only happens when we click on create this particular user that has been implemented here. So in this case, I'll have to make another new function. This function will be it's going to be will be exactly like async function fetch users, but in this case it's going to be a bit more different here. So I'm just going to copy whatever I put it here, and it's going to say async function. Instead of fetch users, I'm just going to say post or create user. So just going to go to here, just remove this, and as you can see here, you have some data here, but we won't be needing any of this for now. So what you're going to do here, we're going to go to Supabase and just going to say Supabase create data. So that's what you're going to do here. So as you can see, Supabase has some documentation for it, and all you have to do, just need to do something like this. This is what we're going to do here. We're going to just copy whatever the Supabase is actually asking us to do. For example, create record as an example. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to make an await function like this, and into which particular table that we would like to make change, and what are we going to insert. So this is three stuff that we're going to need. So let me click copy this particular code snippet, and I like to remove because we won't be needing this const error. We just need to start with await Supabase since we are using users table, and I would like to insert directly into this particular table, which will be name and age. So that's what I'll be doing. So this one will be name, and the data is basically coming from this form. So form is basically form is basically part of the user. So it's going to be user dot name. Okay, and next thing is instead of name, we're going to put age, and this particular age is basically it's actually it will be receiving user dot age. Okay, yeah, that's it. So I think, okay, of course we need to make sure we need to create user. We need to make sure we trigger this part of this function. Whenever when you click on create button, we need to make sure we are running this. Okay, so we have done with the basic code snippet. Let's click save, and make sure we are already saved everything. So as you can see here, I already have my my name here. Instead of my same, I want to change my name to a different name. So in this case, I like to say Jane Adams, something like this, and she's the age of 25, just to follow this order. So when I click on create here, so as you can see here, you have just able to find this particular name that we have just created, which is Jane Adams 25, and let's click. Okay, so what I did here, I was just able to make this particular create function. Okay, so as you can see here, I was able to create a new user called Jane Adams with the age of 25, and I can actually just go to Supabase here, and I need to go to users table, and when I click on as you can see here, a new data has been created. So that's the way how are we able to make a post request, and basically we are actually creating a new input, inserting a new row inside a particular table called, in this case, it's going to be users. So that's the basic idea of the post request that can be made in Supabase. So thank you guys for watching this part of the video, and let's catch up in the next part, where I'll be walking guys through on how to actually to make more actions that can be made to a particular table. For example, delete and edit. So the next video will be about more on about deleting rows. So catch you guys on the next one. Until then, thanks for watching this part of the video. Thanks.